Take us through the mood at Parktown ahead of the memorial lecture.
Good afternoon, Shante. Certainly a lot of excitement we are witnessing here since we got here about 30 minutes ago. Young and old coming out in numbers to actually take a listen to this 9th annual lecture of the late struggle icon, Ahmed Kathrada. A lot of things are to happen, of course. Former President Kgalema Motlanthe is expected to welcome delegates and attendees to this event here. And of course, Lindiwe Mazibuko, former DA parliamentary leader, will be the respondent following the lecture that will be delivered by political analyst Judith February. But to tell us more about some of the events that are going to take place this afternoon, I'm joined by Nishan Bolton from the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. Let's talk about the significance of holding this ninth memorial lecture of the late Kathrada.
Well, the significance for us is a number of things. We hold this lecture annually as close to the 15th of October, because the 15th of October 1989 is when the Rivonia trialists and others were released. And hence we've continued to hold the lecture as close to their release date as possible. But it's also a platform where the foundation uses it to raise critical issues in society that need to be elevated through hosting it at the lecture itself. This year our theme is on fixing South Africa. And hoping that the lecture by Judith February and the respondent Lindiwe Mazibuko will be able to start a national conversation, not on only what is wrong, but what needs to be done to fix this country up, and who has what responsibility in that regard.
Looking at the wrong that is happening, of course, you've seen, I'm sure, in the past couple of days and months, the so-called colored communities here in Gauteng and across the country having expressed their dissatisfaction, feeling that they are marginalized. Looking at the legacy that Ahmed Kathrada left, how do you think he would react and feel seeing these events unfold in the country?
Well, I think he would begin to do a couple of things. One is begin to look at fact. What are the facts underlining those particular protests, and which of those facts require broader solidarity by people who are not from the affected communities? And thirdly is to begin to say, well, who do we hold accountable for what is gone wrong or what is alleged to have gone wrong in those specific areas? And any issue that he would have addressed would have been one that you would look at if it's just. And how do you then broaden the support base for any struggle in this country that is just? And how do you then hold collectively those responsible for dealing with those issues to account, but not narrowing it down? Kathrada's life and his whole political being was to find ways of transcending difference in the pursuit of social justice.
Now, let's come back to today's proceedings then. We're expecting the program to officially start at 2:30.
We will start at
2 o'clock. What else can we expect that is going to unfold here today?
Well, after the lecture and the respondent, there will obviously be a conversation, an audience conversation, wherein we are going to be asking people there, not to ask questions to the panelists, but for them to make their own contributions on what they think needs to be done. And that usually is the point where that I think for people who are drawing up manifestos, this will just be very useful information to listen to. But perhaps, if not more important than the lecture, we have 3 young people who will be delivering their essays after having taken part and having been pronounced as winners in an anti-racism essay writing competition. And there were over 1,000 participants. And the 3 today are amongst the best of those 1,000, and they are being called here today to actually come and deliver it. And they're coming from, there's a learner from Cape Town, one from Durban, and one from Gauteng. And for the first time, we're beginning to see large scales of young people actually putting pen to paper, expressing their thoughts, their views and opinions on what needs to be done. We always conclude the lecture with an award for an outstanding individual who has taken the stand against racism, and that we will conclude on today.
National Bolton, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, thank you.
Shante, there you go. Of course, as I was saying earlier on, excitement is actually written all over everybody's faces here as we are preparing for that 2 o'clock resumption of the program, of course, and Sean Bolton telling us that there's a lot of activities that are going to happen here throughout the rest of this afternoon, including, of course, that important factor that seems to be dominating headlines as well in the country, the issue of racism, looking at the fact that as well people still sort of feel something needs to be done to actually curb racism in the country. With that, Shantae, it's back to you in studio in Auckland Park.
Thank you very much. Abongile Dumako for SABC News in Newtown, just taking us through what is going to be happening this afternoon at that annual Ahmed Kathrada 9th annual lecture. We will cross to and fro throughout the course of the afternoon. For now, though,